Callie, you are our Pokemon expert, and you got to see Sword and Shield, and you got to talk to Masuda too, correct?
I did. I interviewed Masuda, the producer, and Omori, the director. So I got to learn a lot of like nitty-gritty details, meaning I asked a lot of very specific questions. But we'll start with the demo, I guess.
Yeah.
It was interesting. It was just a gym. So I was kind of expecting to see the wild area, but I think they're keeping that under wraps for now. It was the water type gym, which we hadn't seen until the direct this morning, meaning Tuesday for Pokemon. And it had the new gym leader, Nessa. Basically, it was just to showcase like what going through a gym is like. None of it's final, but it was
Did
like...
you start at the beginning of the gym?
Yes.
So did you have obstacles and trainers you had to fight before you could get to the gym leader?
Yes. So I don't know how much of this is actually going to be in that gym because they were saying like none of these Pokemon are final, this is just for the demo. But it was like a little puzzle where you had like a bunch of columns of water coming down and then you had to press switches to like get the water to stop flowing and then start flowing somewhere else, and it was a navigation.
Sounds pretty standard.
Very
for like Pokemon gym puzzle.
Yeah, very Pokemon gym puzzle. Then trainers to battle. Battling is still battling. It's traditional Pokemon fare.
Did you see any new Pokemon?
I did, and there's two. So I got to play with Wooloo, everyone's favorite. Corviknight was in my party, and all three starters. But the two new ones. First is an imp Pokemon whose name is hard for me to pronounce and remember. It's like Impidimp. Impidimp, that's what it is. And it's like this little devil Pokemon.
Oh,
and it was dark fairy type. Which was,
interesting.
a cool...
Is that the first dark fairy type that you can think of?
I think Mawile might be dark fairy.
Oh, okay.
Or steel fairy. But, I mean, there's lots of weird Pokemon typings. But, so that Pokemon, a lot of dark moves, seemed like kind of a prank... Like, I didn't know what ability it had, but I thought it might have been Prankster, because it was pretty fast with the tricky moves.
Little devil is probably a prankster.
Right. The second one, though, the second new Pokemon... is a corgi named Yamper with a heart on its butt. So, it's an electric corgi. And, it might give Wooloo a run for its money. Not as pure as Wooloo. Wooloo is like just a good round design. This is like very dog-like. To fit with the British theme, I think, because there's already a Yorkie Pokemon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was really surprised. Like literally the first thing they said to me was, by the way, there's a Corgi Pokemon
That's
in this
pretty
game.
cool. So did you get to try out the new Dynamax mechanics?
I did. So I learned a lot about it actually. You can only Dynamax in certain areas, so you can't Dynamax in that intro section of the gym because there wouldn't be enough space and people would probably get hurt. So you can only Dynamax, I don't know about in the world itself. Obviously the raid battles take place in the wild area, so outside makes sense. But as far as gyms go, you can Dynamax only against the gym leader because that's in the big stadium where there's room for those giant Pokemon. The cool thing about it though is it's not like Mega Evolution in that Mega Evolution the Pokemon needs to be holding a Mega Stone to Mega Evolve. In this game, the Pokemon don't need to be holding an item to Dynamax, and any Pokemon can Dynamax. It's an item that you, the trainer, have. I think it's like the Dynamax Band is what I was told. And so if you're in the right place, any Pokemon can Dynamax, which is really weird and cool. And Masuda and Omori-san were saying that it's, this is to give every Pokemon its time to shine. So I got to do that in the trainer, or the gym battle. I chose Grookey because it was against Dreadnought, which is a water and rock type Pokemon, so I was like, let's go full grass. And the Dynamax moves, as we saw a little bit during the Treehouse presentation, have additional effects. So Dreadnaught's, I forget what the actual move was, but they're all like max something, and it caused a sandstorm as its additional effect. It was pretty exciting to get my hands on it and see how it works, and see a Pokemon that would never be that powerful, like the first stage Pokemon, Grookey, getting Dynamaxed. So it was cool to like learn a little bit more about how that worked.
So when you talked to Masuda-san, did you learn any nitty-gritty stuff about it? Like, I don't know, I'm sure a lot of hardcore fans have questions about how the stats are going to work this time, like what's going to carry over exactly from Pokemon Let's Go, what, like random battles, for example? Yeah,
so let's start with battles, because that was my big outstanding question from the June 5th Direct and from the E3 presentation and Treehouse Live. I was like, are there random encounters or not? And the answer I got is no, there's no completely random encounters. So you'll never be walking in the tall grass and just have a Pokemon pop out at you and battle and attack you.
Thank God.
It's the random element comes in with the exclamation point encounters.
Okay, so it's just a matter of you don't know exactly what you're gonna get,
Yes.
but you know where that Pokemon is.
And you have to walk into it to initiate that battle. They were explaining to me, both Omori and Masuda, that the reasoning behind this was it would be weird if you were walking around in a new Pokemon game and you saw a bunch of creatures you'd never seen before walking around. So they wanted you to have that element of surprise encountering new Pokemon for the first time. So like you're walking in the tall grass, you see an exclamation point, and then it's Impidimp. And you're like, who is that?
So after you've seen a Pokemon though, then they'll start appearing in the grass?
You know, I'm not sure. I think at the very least, the first appearance will
be random. And then
I can't say for sure,
Yeah.
but that's the sense I got. They were being pretty coy about some stuff. But yeah, I was really happy to finally have an answer about randomness. The other thing I really wanted to know was why Dynamaxing? You already have Mega Evolutions, you have Z moves, and then, you know, Dynamax Pokemon, especially in the Max Raid battles, remind me of Totem Pokemon from Sun and Moon. They're bigger versions and more powerful. And they gave me the answer that I actually kind of expected, but it was cool to get confirmation, was this is Pokemon on your TV, and you'll really be able to see the scale, is what they told me. Like, this is the opportunity to see the size difference and celebrate Pokemon being on the TV. And so I just think that's really cool. Like, yes, they want to make Pokemon more powerful. They were saying we've been doing that for a while. We've been introducing things to make Pokemon more powerful, but this is just like perfect for what this game is.
Yeah, that makes sense because this Pokemon game is supposed to be much bigger. The wild areas are supposed to be massive, so it makes a lot of sense to be able to make your Pokemon giant and take up all that space, which is cool.
Yeah. Another thing, speaking of the wild area, I asked them because, you know, seeing the wild area in action gave me Breath of the Wild vibes, just in the scope of like, I'm looking over there, I'm walking seamlessly from one area to the next.
And weather effects and
Yeah,
stuff
and
like
like
that.
dynamic weather. And a couple other people around here said the same thing. And I asked them, like, what do you think about the comparison? What do you think about being compared to Breath of the Wild? And they were really humble. They were like, you know, we didn't really think about that. A lot of games have open areas, and we just wanted to do what was best for Pokemon. And I was like, that's very humble, because like, you know, I'm at the Nintendo booth. Aonuma's down like a couple doors, you know, but yeah, so it's like they're not trying to emulate anything, as far as I can tell. It's just this is where Pokemon's going.
And I think fans are happy because this is something fans have wanted for a very long time.
Yeah, I think the combination of having Pokemon in the overworld from Let's Go and having that big open area in a new Pokemon game is really powerful, really captures the imagination. And they were saying having the overworld Pokemon in this game specifically was a big discussion. Like, they were nervous about it at Game Freak because it's a risk. Changing, especially a core game like Let's Go, can be a bit more experimental because you're reimagining an old game. There's room to try stuff out. But a core game, the core fans are pretty intense, and
considering it hasn't changed in 20 years.
Yeah, it's really hard to mess with that formula, and I guess that was a really big discussion they had. On to the core stuff, though, I didn't get a lot of answers on all of my questions. One of the questions I asked was Max Raid Pokemon. You know, legendary Pokemon, when you fight them, they're guaranteed 3 perfect stats. I was like, what can I get with a Max Raid Pokemon? And they didn't say anything about stats, but they did say you get a lot of items and rewards for participating in those raids, which is kind of cool because that's how raids work in other games. And it's just weird seeing that applied to Pokemon. I think it's really, really cool. And the strategy there of like, we saw this in the Treehouse Live presentation, like the Max Raid Pokemon has a barrier that it puts up, and it has like a bar, and if you have a weaker Pokemon in the 4 people who are playing, that Pokemon can chip away at that bar and be useful, and that's an element of strategy. So I think that's really interesting. I think like applying Pokemon rules to a very tried and true game mechanic in other genres just intrigues me a lot. And then the Dynamaxing is just like a spectacle to behold.
Anyway, that was Pokemon Sword and Shield. That comes out November 15th this year. But for more E3 2019 coverage and news, make sure to stay tuned to GameSpot.